carefully clean all the components before reassembling them. All the surfaces to be glued must be free from any traces of grease. Before reassembling the components, check that they are not damaged or worn. Before reassembling, check that all the lubrication holes on both half casings are not clogged. Blow with compressed air if necessary. These are the lubrication holes for the gearbox. The lubrication holes for the main bearings of the driving shaft. The lubrication holes for the cooling of the piston root and clutch. Lubricate with engine oil. Apply anti-seize loctite to the bearings housings for the main and transmission shafts. Apply Molykote GN to the half bearing brasses of the driving shaft and of the counter shaft. Also apply Molykote GN to the oil spray tube. Grease the oil seal of the transmission shaft. Insert the guide bush. Protect the gear sector of the transmission shaft with a bush in order not to damage the gasket. Insert the gearbox assembly into the two bearings to 3/4 of its length. Insert the shifting fork for the 5th and 6th gears into the main shaft. Fully insert the gearbox gently into the crankcase on the flywheel side with the aid of a hammer. Lubricate the fork for the 2nd and 4th gear and for the 1st and 3rd gear, and then insert it into the transmission shaft. Insert the positive into the crankcase. Hook the 3 forks in the relevant guides in the positive. Insert the fork shafts into their respective holes until they stop against the half casing on the flywheel side. Insert the driving shaft into the halves casing housing on the flywheel side. Check that the lower connecting rod is positioned towards cylinder number 2 and the upper connecting rod towards cylinder number 1. Insert the counter shaft into its housing. Attention! Be careful not to damage the bushings when reassembling the driving shaft and the counter shaft. Place the gasket on the halves casing coupling surface on the flywheel side. All the gasket holes must match with the holes on the flywheel side of the halves casing. Apply anti-seize loctite to the transmission shaft, main shaft into the gearbox pin. Apply Medicoat GM to the bearings housings of the driving shaft and counter shaft. Lubricate both fork shafts. Check that the shim is on the transmission shaft. Insert the oil filter net into the halves casing on the clutch side. Fit the halves casing on the clutch side to the halves casing on the flywheel side. Gently use a rubber or plastic hammer if necessary. Do not damage the surface of the clutch cover gasket. Turn the crankcase to the flywheel side. Tighten the 20 M6 tube-headed screws coupling the two halves casings. 13 screws are M6 by 65. Attention! For one of these tube-headed screws, a new packing ring should be used. Five M6 by 45 screws. One M6 by 80 screw, and one M6 by 25 screw. Cross-tighten the screws until the tightening torque is 11 Nm. After tightening the coupling screws, check that the driving shaft, the counter shaft, the main shaft, and the transmission shaft turn freely. Scrape the projecting part of the gasket and cover the engine compartment with a clean cloth. Pull the index lever downwards. Insert the index plate in the positive notch and fasten the index plate with the M6 screw. Apply thread locking compound loctite 243 to the M6 screw. Tighten at tightening torque 11 Nm. Fit the shim on the transmission shaft. Insert the stop ring into the transmission shaft 9. Attention! Always use a new stop ring. Lubricate the gear shaft and fit it into the crankcase. Check that the spring has no play between the ratchet gear and the parallel pin in the crankcase. Turn the transmission shaft and check that all gears engage easily. Insert the pressure regulator piston into the cover of the pneumatic coil and check that the projection of the cleaning screw is from 0 to 0.3 mm. Value of August 28, 1999. Apply thread locking compound loctite 648 to the cleaning screw. Calc the cleaning screw in 4 points. Apply a thin layer of loctite 574 in the housing of the oil pump casing, preventing the loctite from getting into the hole of the suction pump. Remove any loctite from the oil suction pump. Insert the external rotor in the pump housing. The mark on the external rotor must be facing downwards. Insert the pin in the lower hole of the oil pump shaft. Fit the internal rotor on the oil pump shaft. The fissure must be facing upwards. Insert the oil pump shaft and the internal rotor into the crankcase. Apply a thin layer of loctite 574 on the coupling surface between the pump casing and the oil pump cover and fit it onto the oil pump shaft. Make sure that no loctite gets into the holes of the pneumatic pump. Fix the pneumatic coil pump casing to the crankcase using 2 pins. Insert Insert the pin into the central hole of the oil pump shaft. Fit the pump's internal rotor, with fissure facing downwards, onto the oil pump shaft. Insert the lubricated external rotor in the oil pump casing. Fit the oil pump cover and fasten it with 4 M6 tube-headed screws. The tightening torque is 11 Nm. Cross-tighten the screws. Insert the pin into the hole in the oil pump shaft. The nut on the pump casing will facilitate this operation. Place the pin in the center of the oil pump shaft. Insert a new gear for the oil pump. You should hear that the gear has been perfectly fitted onto the pin. Insert the stop ring into the spline of the oil pump shaft. Make sure not to open the stop ring ends more than is necessary. Check the in-play of the oil pump shaft and that it turns freely. Fasten the M6 screw for the clutch lubrication using a new packing ring. The tightening torque must be 6 Nm, value of August 28, 1999. Apply Molykote 111 to the oil filter center. Also apply Molykote to both O-rings and insert them into the oil filter cover. Insert the oil filter cartridge into the oil filter cover and insert the whole assembly into the crankcase. Fasten the oil filter cover with the 5 M6 screws. The tightening torque is 11 Nm. Use a new packing ring and fasten the magnetic screw with tightening torque 20 Nm. Turn the driving shaft so that the connecting rod of cylinder number 2 is at the top dead center. Fasten the driving shaft with a set screw, taking care not to over-tighten it. Both connecting rods should be fastened with a suitable O-ring. Fit the distribution chain according to the marks that were made previously. Fix the shim onto the timing gear with some grip. Fit the gear into the crankcase and then the chain onto the wheel sprocket. Insert the chain tighten guide and fit the spacer bush. Fit the roller cages onto the pins of the bearing support. It is possible to fix the cages with some grease if necessary. Fit the bearing support and fasten it with 3 M8 hexagon screws or wire washers. The tightening torque is 25 Nm. Check that the idle gear turns freely. Align the mark on the idle gear with the one on the crankcase. Insert the key onto the driving shaft. Apply anti-seize Loctite to the driving shaft. Fit the timing gear onto the driving shaft. Apply anti-seize Loctite to the countershaft and oil the axle fairing surface of the crankcase with the countershaft. Fit the spring washer onto the countershaft. Fit the shim with a convex side facing downwards onto the countershaft. Fit the water pump gear onto the countershaft. Fit the water pump side load gear onto the parallel pin. Fit the shim onto the countershaft. Attention! Oil the parallel pin before fitting the water pump side load gear. Apply anti-seize Loctite to the driving shaft and to the countershaft. Fit the mating gear on the driving shaft so that the mark remains visible. Fit the gear on the countershaft. The two gears must be assembled so that the marks on the gears match. Lift the countershaft as far as possible and assemble the balance weight so that it fits well into the spring. Assemble the spring washer and fasten with M22 1.5 nut. Apply Loctite 243 to the nut thread and tighten with a 150 Nm tightening torque. Apply anti-seize Loctite to the driving shaft. Fit the gear onto the driving shaft with the shoulder facing downwards. Insert the spring washer. Apply Loctite 243 to the thread of the M33 nut. Tighten with a 230 Nm tightening torque. Apply anti-fluid Loctite to the thread of the main shaft. Fit the shim onto the main shaft. Fit the oil pump gear onto the clutch cover. Fit the clutch cover onto the main shaft. Attention! Turn the oil pump gear so that it fits well into the oil pump pinion. Fit the toothed shim onto the main shaft. Insert the clutch hub. Fit the spring washer onto the main shaft. Insert the clutch locking fixture into the clutch cover. It is important that this fixture is inserted as far as possible into the clutch cover so that it does not get damaged. Apply Loctite 648 to the M24 hexagon nut and tighten it. The tightening torque is 117 Nm. Remove the locking fixture. Insert the lubricated clutch plate, starting with a steel plate, smooth. Alternately insert the smooth plates and the lined plates of the clutch. The upper clutch plate must be inserted into the outer alignment spline. The clutch plate is marked with a blue dot. Oil the disengagement shaft and insert it into the hole of the main shaft. Insert the springs carrier plate. Fasten the 6 clutch springs with 6 washers and 6 nuts. Tighten crossways. The tightening torque is 11 Newton-meter. If worn 10 stud bolts need to be replaced, apply Loctite 243. Tighten the stud bolts in the crankcase with a 25 Newton-meter tightening torque. Attention! The stud bolts on the chain compartment side are 180 mm in length. The other stud bolts measure 174 mm. Also apply Loctite 243 to the M6 stud bolts on the chain compartment side and tighten with a 7 Newton-meter tightening torque. Check that the 4 pins have been inserted into the crankcase. Apply Medicoat GM to the connecting rod eye and to the piston pin hole. Fit the piston onto the connecting rod with the arrow facing the exhaust. Insert the piston pin. Fit the stop ring with bent ends onto the fitting tool. Assemble the stop ring with bent ends. Attention! Always use a new stop ring with bent ends. Check that the stop ring has been correctly fitted and that the bent end has fitted into the spline of the piston. Fit the head of cylinder 2 onto cylinder 2. Check that the 2 pins have been assembled. Assemble a new gasket for the head. Assemble the cylinder and fasten it with 4 shouldered hexagon nuts. Attention! The bolt on the induction side is longer. Tighten crossways. The tightening torque is 13 Newton-meter. Check that the hexagon screw has been fitted into the chain guide. Apply Elastic 732 next to the screw on the chain guide. Insert the chain guide into the head so that the screw enters the hole. Apply Loctite 243 to the screw and tighten the shoulder nut. The tightening torque is 2.5 Newton meter. The procedure for assembling cylinder 1 with head 1 is the same as the procedure which has just been performed to join cylinder 2 to head 2. Apply loctite 574 in the coupling zone of the two halves casings. Fit a new cylinder base gasket onto the crankcase. Oil the piston and the piston rings. Stagger the piston ring openings by 120 degrees. From the top, insert on the piston the pliers used for assembling the piston rings so as to make them taut. Insert the chain tightening guide into the chain compartment. Insert the cylinder from the top so as to push down the tool used to assemble the piston rings. Remove the piston rings fitting tool. Insert the chain into the chain compartment. This operation can be made easier if a narrow ring or something similar is used. Insert the cylinder as far as possible into the crankcase. Insert 2 washers for the M6 stud bolts and 4 washers for the M10 stud bolts into the head. The washing slots must be facing downwards. Lubricate the 4 threads on the thread of the 2 M6 stud bolts. Fasten the head with 4 dodecagon nuts and 2 shouldered hexagon nuts. 4 dodecagon nuts must be tightened with a special tool. Cross-tighten them in 3 steps. First step with a 30 Nm tightening torque. Second step with a 50 Nm tightening torque. Last step with a 67 Nm tightening torque. Tighten the 2 shouldered hexagon nuts with a 13 Nm tightening torque. Check and set the valve play. Check the valve play according to the programmed maintenance table. The valve play must be checked and set every time the distribution system, the head, and the camshaft are disassembled. Insert a pad into the valve spring cap. Attention! The thickness of the pad is engraved. Insert the pads with the writing facing downwards. Insert the 4 cups into the head. Attention! Fit the cups and the pads according to the marks applied during the disassembly. Insert the induction camshaft and the exhaust camshaft into the head. The induction camshaft and the exhaust camshaft are different from each other. They can be recognized because the part number is printed on them. Insert the camshaft supporting brackets into the head. Attention! The letter serves to correctly match the brackets and the cylinder. Fit the brackets into their correct position, according to the number printed both in the bracket and on the head. Fasten the M8 cheese-headed screws with a 20 Nm tightening torque. Measure the valve play with a thickness gauge. The valve play of the inlet valves must range between 0.1 and 0.15 mm. The valve play of the exhaust valves must range between 0.33 and 0.37 mm. Unscrew the 8 cheese-headed screws and disassemble the supporting brackets. If the correct valve play value has not been obtained, replace the relevant pads and repeat the same procedure as above. Check that the lubrication passage for the roller cage of the upper countershaft is not clogged. Again, check that the cylinder 2 piston is at the top dead center. Lubricate all the valve cups and the camshaft supports. Insert the timing gear and the 30-ohm Z gear onto the induction camshaft. Insert the camshaft into the head and hook the distribution chain to the timing gear. Insert the timing gear and the pickup plate onto the exhaust camshaft. Insert the exhaust camshaft into the head. Turn the induction camshaft so that the cam's points face upwards to the left. Turn the exhaust camshaft so that the cam's points face upwards to the right. In this position, the flat surfaces of the flanges are almost parallel to the head coupling surface. Place the timing gear of the induction camshaft so that the holes in the two gears coincide. Use the mark that was made during the disassembly. Hook the chain to the gear and fit the whole assembly onto the exhaust camshaft. Fasten the special tool into the hole for the chain tightener to make the chain taut. Turn the disc on the camshaft so that the holes coincide with those of the gear, and lightly fasten the disc with 2 M6 by 16 cheese-headed screws. Attention! Use the mark that was made during the disassembly. Insert the mating gear onto the induction camshaft so that the holes coincide. Lightly fasten the mating gear with an M6 by 18 cheese-headed screw and weldment washer. Attention! Use the mark that was made during the disassembly. Fit a new O-ring onto the spark plug tube. Apply a layer of Molykote 111 grease. Insert the tube into the head. Check that the two pins have been inserted into the head. Lubricate the bearing surfaces of the camshaft bearing brackets. Fit the bearing brackets onto the head and fasten them with these M8 cheese-headed screws. Attention! Assemble according to the marks. The tightening torque is 20 Newton-meter. Fasten the tool for measuring timing onto the head. Remove the driving shaft set screw. Turn the driving shaft in the direction of engine rotation until the measuring device plate gets to the circle at the base of the exhaust camshaft cam. Attention! The camshafts must not yet touch the cups. Set the measuring device to 0. Turn the driving shaft in the opposite direction to the direction of engine rotation until the bolt of the measuring device gets to the base circle of the induction camshaft. Attention! The cams must not yet touch the cups. Set the comparator to 0. Turn the driving shaft in the direction of rotation until the cylinder 2 piston gets to the top dead center. Fasten the driving shaft set screw. Make sure that the set screw is perfectly fixed into the driving shaft spline. Do not over-tighten it. Insert the special tool into the induction camshaft together with a cheese-headed screw and loosen the cheese-headed screw. Adjust the induction camshaft value to 3.25 mm. Tighten the cheese-headed screw again. Insert the special tool into the exhaust camshaft together with the cheese-headed screws and loosen the cheese-headed screws. Adjust the induction camshaft value to 2.9 mm. Tighten the cheese-headed screws again. Check that the threaded hole in the camshaft is in the center of the slot on the mating gear. Unscrew the driving shaft set screw until the driving shaft starts turning freely. Turn the driving shaft by 1/4 of a turn in the opposite direction to the direction of engine rotation. Screw in the set screw again by 5 mm. Turn the driving shaft in the direction of engine rotation until the set screw touches the driving shaft handwheel. Lubricate the upper countershaft housing. Apply Molykote 111 to the O-ring. Check that the bearing cap pin is fitted into the head. Insert the upper countershaft together with the bearing cap into the head. Check that the mating gear teeth perfectly fit into the countershaft teeth. Loosen the driving shaft set screw and turn the driving shaft in the direction of rotation until the piston gets to the top dead center again. Screw up the set screw again. Fit the special tool onto the camshaft and the tube-headed screw. Loosen the M6 tube-headed screw. Turn the mating gear on the camshaft so that the adjusting tool can be inserted into the slot in the countershaft. Lock the tool. Check the adjusting value of the induction camshaft again. It should be 3.25 mm. Otherwise, perform the adjustment again. Screw in the M6 tube-headed screw again. Remove the adjusting tool from the upper countershaft. Check the induction and exhaust camshaft values again. The induction camshaft value should be 3.25 mm, whereas that of the exhaust camshaft should be 2.9 mm. Fasten the bearing cap with 4 and 5 screws. The tightening torque is 6 Nm. Apply Molykote 111 grease to the O-ring of the drain nipple and insert the drain nipple into the head. Pay attention to the position of the nipple. Fasten the supporting plate with 4 and 4 by 12 torque screws. The tightening torque is 2.5 Nm. Remove the clamp screw from the exhaust camshaft disc. Fasten the camshaft timing gear for the last time. Attention! Every time the timing gears are disassembled, new tube-headed screws must be used. Apply Loctite 243 to the new M6 by 16 tube-headed screw, quality 12.9. and screw it into the exhaust camshaft. Follow the same procedure for the other M6 by 16 visible tube-headed screw, quality 12.9. Use a new tube-headed screw also in this case. The tightening torque of these two screws is 20 Nm. Fasten the timing gear to the induction camshaft with a new M6 by 18 screw and its new washer. Apply loctite 243 first. Remove the other M6 by 18 screw and replace it with a new screw and a new washer after having applied loctite 243. Tighten the two screws with a 20 Nm tightening torque. Note, the quality of the M6 tube-headed screws is 12.9. Remove the special tools. Lubricate the chain tightener and insert it with a closed part into the driving direction. Screw in the M16 by 1.5 locking screw together with the relevant packing ring. The tightening torque is 30 Nm. If the locking screw is hard to tighten, leave the chain tightener by pushing the ball of the oil non-return valve on the chain tightener. Value of June the 10th, 1999. Unscrew the driving shaft set screw and turn it by 300 degrees in the opposite direction to the direction of engine rotation. Tighten the set screw again so that the cylinder number 1 piston is at the top dead center. Apply loctite 233 to a new M6 by 16 screw, quality 12.9, and screw it into the exhaust camshaft. Apply loctite 243 to a new M6 by 18 screw, quality 12.9, and screw it into the induction camshaft together with a new washer. Tighten both screws with a 20 Nm torque. Check that the two pins have been assembled in the half casing on the flywheel side. Insert the chain into the chain compartment according to the marks applied during the disassembly. Fasten the shoe with some grease onto the timing gear. Insert the timing gear into the crankcase and hook the chain to the timing gear. Insert the chain tightener guide into the chain compartment and fit the spacer bush. Lubricate the two roller cages and fit them on the bearing support pin. Insert the bearing support and assemble it, gently using a hammer if necessary. Fasten the bearing support with two N8 hexagon screws and their washers and with one N6 cheese-headed screw. First apply loctite 243 to the N6 cheese-headed screw. The tightening torque for the N8 hexagon screws is 25 Nm. The tightening torque for the N6 cheese-headed screw is 11 Nm. Turn the timing gear so that the two marks on the gear and on the bearing support coincide. Check that the key has been fitted onto the counter shaft. Fit the balance weight onto the counter shaft. Apply anti-seize loctite to the counter shaft hub. Fit the gear onto the counter shaft. Note, observe the same assembly position as was marked during the disassembly. Check that the two references coincide. Apply loctite 648 to the N10 screw. Assemble the balance weight on the counter shaft so that the spline is facing the key. Screw the cheese-headed screw into the counter shaft. The tightening torque is 15 Nm. Lubricate the two starting gearing pins and apply Molykote GM grease to the bearing surface of the freewheel gear on the driving shaft. Insert the double gear and the idle gear of the starting device. Fit the gear onto the driving shaft. Lubricate the hub of the freewheel gear. Apply loctite 648 to the conical part of the magneto flywheel. The conical parts of the driving shaft and of the magneto flywheel must be free from dirt or grease. Fit the magneto flywheel assembly onto the driving shaft. The key on the driving shaft must coincide with the spline of the magneto flywheel. Apply loctite 648 to the N16 screw and fasten it. The tightening torque is 130 Nm. Note, use a hexagon wrench with a projecting point. Assemble the cylinder number 1 piston. The assembly procedure of this piston is the same as that of the cylinder number 2 piston. Again, check that the arrow on the piston is facing the exhaust. Carefully check that the stop ring with bent ends has been fitted correctly and that the bent end has been positioned on the groove on the piston. Apply loctite 574 in the coupling zone of the two halves casings. Fit a new cylinder base gasket onto the crankcase. Assemble cylinder number 1, carrying out the assembly as explained for cylinder number 2. The full dodecagon nut must be cross-tightened again in 3 steps. The first step with a 30 Nm tightening torque. The second step with a 50 Nm tightening torque. The last step with a 67 Nm tightening torque. Fasten the 2 and 6 hexagon screws with a 14 Nm tightening torque. Insert the pads and the cups. Adjust the valve play according to the explanations given for cylinder number 2. Lubricate the camshaft supports and the cups. Fit the timing gear onto the induction camshaft and insert the whole assembly into the head. Fit the other timing gear onto the exhaust camshaft and insert the whole assembly into the head. Turn the exhaust camshaft so that the cam points are facing downwards to the right. In this position, the flat surfaces are almost parallel with the coupling surface of the head. Hook the chain onto the timing gear and fit the whole assembly onto the exhaust camshaft. Hook the chain onto the timing gear and fit the whole assembly onto the induction camshaft. Observe the marks that were applied during the assembly. The threaded holes in the camshafts must coincide with the slots in the timing gear. Screw the special tool into the chain tightener hole. Fasten both timing gears with an M6 by 16 screw and relevant washer. Apply Monocoat 111 to the O-ring of the spark plug tube and insert the assembly into the head. Lubricate all the camshaft supports. Assemble the 3 camshaft supporting brackets and fasten them with the M8 tube-headed screws. Attention! Observe the numbering. The tightening torque is 20 Newton-meter. Fasten the device for measuring time into the head. Adjust the measuring device as described for cylinder number 2. Again, fix the driving shaft to the ignition top dead center. Carry out the adjustment as described for cylinder number 2. Induction camshaft 3.25 mm. Exhaust camshaft 2.9 mm. Fasten the gear wheels with new 6x16 screws and relevant washers. Don't forget to apply Loctite 243 to the screws beforehand. Note: the classic resistance of the M6x16 screws is 12.9. Value of August 28, 1999. The tightening torque is 20 Nm. Check the timing values on the comparator for the last time. Remove the measuring device from the head. Remove the tightening screw from the head. Oil the chain tightener and insert it with a closed part in the driving direction. Fasten the 16 by 1.5 locking screw together with the relevant packing ring. The tightening torque is 30 Nm. Unscrew the driving shaft set screw and turn it in the opposite direction to the direction of engine rotation. The tightening torque is 20 Nm. Turn the driving shaft by 2 turns in the direction of engine rotation to check that it works correctly. Turn the driving shaft to show that the piston number 1 is at the top dead center. In this position, the cam points must be facing outwards. Lock the driving shaft in this position by means of the set screw. Check that the disc drive part is in the opposite position to the camshaft sensor. Remove the driving shaft set screw. Turn the driving shaft until the disc drive part coincides with the camshaft sensor. Check with a thickness gauge that the distance between the drive part and the sensor is from 0.8 to 1.2 millimeters. This distance can be adjusted with spacers. The seal is guaranteed by no ring. The tightening torque for the 2 and 4 screws is 2.5 Newton-meter. Apply Monocoat 111 to the cover. Assemble both covers and fasten them with M8 tube-headed screws. The tightening torque is 2.5 Newton-meter. Apply Monocoat GM to the camshafts. Apply Monocoat 111 to the spark plug tube and insert it. Apply Monocoat 111 grease to the gasket and insert it into the head. Also insert the gasket into the head of cylinder number 2. Check that the pins have been assembled. The letter on the valve cap corresponds to that on the cylinder. Apply Elastic 732 in this area. Lubricate both supports. Assemble the valve cap onto the head with care and fasten it with M5 tube-headed screws. The tightening torque is 6 Newton-meter. The same procedure is to be followed for the valve cap of cylinder number 2. Assemble the supporting plate and fasten it with 4 and 5 tube-headed screws and relevant washers. The tightening torque is 5.5 Newton meter. Check that the two cylindrical pins have been inserted into the crankcase. Apply Molykote GM to the driving shaft hub and the countershaft hub. Assemble the gasket. The gasket may also be fixed with some grist. Assemble the clutch cover assembly along with the quarter pump. Turn the rotor of the rotor pump to fit the gear's tooth of the rotor pump into the idle gear of the rotor pump. Fasten the cover with 11 M6 screws and 4 M8 screws. The M8 screw is blocked in the hole of the set screw by means of a packing ring. The tightening torque for the M6 screws is 11 Newton meter. The tightening torque for the M8 screws is 19 Newton meter. Insert the gasket into the water pump casing and fit it onto the clutch cover. Fasten the water pump casing with 4 and 6 screws. Attention! A new packing ring should be used for the cheese-headed drain screw. Fasten the M12 screws. Attention! The diaphragm must not be fixed to the projections of the clutch cover. The tightening torque is 30 Newton meter. Turn the clutch release shaft until the diaphragm fits into the projections of the clutch cover. Fit the diaphragm disc and fasten it with 8 and 5 cheese-headed screws. The tightening torque is 5 Newton meter. Apply Molykote GM to the starting motor transmission. Apply grease to the insertion hole of the starting motor and insert it as far as possible. Fasten it with 2 and 6 cheese-headed screws. tightening torque is 11 Newton meter. Check that the pin has been inserted into the crankcase. Fit the new gasket. Insert the tool into the flywheel cover. Fasten the flywheel cover with 12 M6 tube-headed screws. Apply Loctite 243 to the screw in the chain compartment area. The tightening torque is 11 Newton meter. By hand, screw in the screw and the throw ring. Apply a thin layer of monocoat GM to the spark plug thread and screw it in. The tightening torque is 12 Newton meter. The indications contained in this video regarding the tightening torques, lubricants and other things refer to the values of May 1999. The effective values for the engines that are supplied are listed in the engine's technical data.